Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Comic Talk Tuesday. I'm here with Jason Sandberg, author of Jupiter Issue 1, now funding on Indiegogo. You want to
That's
give
right.
everyone your pitch?
Yeah, so I'm Jason Sandberg. I'm the writer, artist, illustrator, inker, colorist, letterist. I did everything. Everything's me, including the typos. No, just kidding. There's no typos. So Jupiter it's unique in a couple of different ways. It's 40 pages full color for $10, which I think is a pretty good bargain. And because I'm a new creator and I'm trying to get my work out there, and I wanted to have a kind of a low barrier for entry. So $10 is a way I figured to make it easier for people to kind of pull the trigger and roll the dice and experiment by picking up my book. Again, so pretty good bargain there. 40 pages for $10, and the book itself. Jupiter takes place in a world like ours where there's no superheroes. The only superheroes exist in the comic book. And right there up on the page, you can see like the comic book within the comic book. That's in the yellow and blue there. That's Captain Kleinbottle. He's a Jack Kirby inspired character that is in the world of Jupiter in the comic books. So one of the problems that I have with Marvel and DC is that they're kind of overcrowded with superheroes. It's like take your superhero to work day. You open up a lot of these comic books and it's just superheroes standing around, and they're too similar. They're not unique. And the other thing is that they're so everyday and kind of boring. Like they'll talk about how like their latte got scalded and stuff like that. And they're not like revered. They're not looked up to and so forth. I mean, they'll fly around, but they're not special because there's just literally too many of them. So with Jupiter, the proposition is that this is a normal world and there's no superheroes, but you're right here at square one where, as you can see there, basically a hole in reality rips open and monsters, magic, and mayhem spill into this normal world. Now, my main character, her name is Brenda. That's her there on the cover. Her story is that she wants to run away from home. Not out of neglect or abuse or anything like that, but because there's this sadness that's smothering her family. And I don't tell you exactly what it is her family's trying to overcome and deal with. There's clues inside the first issue. And if you read carefully, you'll kind of piece it together, and there'll be more details later. But basically, her family has taken her on a trip to a cabin to kind of try to reset their lives because they've got this sadness hanging over them. In the course of that little vacation, a hole in reality rips open, and a revolution in a neighboring dimension spills into their world. And and this is the introduction to magic, monsters, and mayhem. As a consequence of that, she has the ability now to open up these portals, right? So finally, she can run away from home. Like she could go anywhere. She could never have to do homework again. She never has to grow up and get a day job. She could just escape. However, she has to make a choice. And the choice is between fight or flight, because while she could escape, she could get away, she could skip town. She has to stay and fight and defend her hometown, defend her family, and eventually defend the world itself. So that's kind of the dramatic tension between that fight or flight. Now, if you're a person who suddenly gets magical powers, your first impulse isn't going to be to become a superhero, right? That's not what you're going to do. However, to make it natural, she's going to incrementally take these different steps along our hero's journey to become her world's first, only, and greatest superhero. There's going to be plenty of supervillains. There's going to be plenty of threats coming at her. The stakes will rise. There's going to be a roller coaster with fantastic cliffhangers. But if you get into Jupiter, you don't need to know anything ahead of time, and you're along there for the ride, and you follow her on her journey.
Very nice. I'm really surprised that you did everything on your own. I mean, like, it's such a dramatic change in art style.
Yeah. So when I would do the Jack Kirby type stuff, obviously I kind of like I look at his work, and particularly when Joe Sinnott would ink him, and I would kind of emulate that. And then I had a great time for the colors to emulate that Silver Age, Bronze Age comic book feel. I did these test fills in Photoshop, and I would play with the contrast of the dots. And I went back and forth with my printer. I had him do like 7 different rounds of test sheets. because oftentimes when people try to mimic the look and feel of an old comic book, the dots are too harsh. And when you look at it, your eye wants to first see the shapes. It wants to see the black outlines, and then it wants to see the colors, and then it wants to relax a little bit and then see the little dots. And oftentimes where they try to mimic those old comic books, I think the contrast is too high on the dots, and it just kind of looks kind of gaudy, and it doesn't click right. So I had a lot of fun back engineering it to look like an old comic book, and then getting a paper filter over it. And I had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun doing that part.
Yeah, I think it looks like really, really good, honestly.
Thank you.
I think you got that style pretty nailed
I know.
down.
I gotta patent it. And then if you go up a little bit, there's the dinosaur.
Oh, right. Yeah. This is awesome.
So yeah, this was a lot of fun too. So as I mentioned, Jupiter, it takes place in like a normal world. And that's where I do like the kind of the modern illustrative style with the full color palette. But there's a section of the book that takes place in this other dimension where there's this revolution. And that's what breaks through, but basically spills into the normal world. And when I do that section of the book, I wanted to give it a different feel. So I wanted to draw it like a 1970s John Buscema Conan with all the ornate and the drapery and so forth. But I wanted it to feel otherworldly. So I drew it in this dark blue line, these dark blue lines. And then when I was going to color it, I said, okay, I'm not going to do the obvious thing and make it like sepia and Stone Age. I'm going to make it psychedelic and make it kind of like, just kind of make your head like spin a little bit. So I had a lot of fun building up the washes and the layers and things like that. So there's about 5 pages in the book with scenes from this revolution as it's happening, and then as it collides with my main character and her storyline. So just to make it feel otherworldly, I kind of mess with the colors and put in all kinds of kind of psychedelic filters.
Yeah, that is like super interesting. You definitely know how to draw that eye when you want to, you know?
Exactly.
How long have you been working on issue 1?
So what happened was in 2019, I came across the crowdfunding movement, and I had done Jupiter back in the late 90s, early 2000s as a black and white indie, and it was one of those things. It was bad timing in terms of the comic book market. But it was, I would describe it as it was critically acclaimed, but poorly marketed. I had like no marketing budget. It was in my late 20s, didn't know what I was doing. And so Jupiter ran 9 issues back in the 90s. And I would work with Diamond, the distributor, and we'd kind of target different comic book shops that moved a lot of good indie comics that were akin to mine. And we'd send them these little promo packs with like a free comic and a letter from me. And Diamond really liked the book. They did a lot to support me, but we couldn't find the right audience for it. So with Jupiter back in the 90s, the sales never went down, because everybody who picked it up loved it, you know, and they still reach out to me today saying, when is it coming back? But I couldn't grow the audience. We tried everything. So Diamond was very patient with me. And then after 9 issues, I said, you know what? I'm getting mixed messages from the retailers. I'm going to hit pause, focus on family, focus on painting, do some other things, and continue to read comic books. I still love them. I've been reading them since the 70s. And when I came across the crowdfunding movement in 2019, it occurred to me, crowdfunding is more direct than the direct market, because you're going right to readers, right? And in our normal course of our day-to-day lives, individuals are easier to absorb risk, right? And what I mean by that is, if there's a restaurant that just opens up down the street, it's not a big deal to spend $20 and just go try it, right? Let's go get a dish from that restaurant. It's only $20. And whereas if you're a comic book retailer, you've got to worry about taxes, overhead, insurance, rent, all that kind of stuff, and your payroll. So comic book shops typically, they will experiment, but by and large, they're very cautious, very conservative. And with an indie title, they'll order one or two copies, and then if they sell, they'll be like, we're so glad that sold, and let's order one next time, just in case it was a fluke, right? So they've gotten better to some extent, but by and large, they're very cautious. It's very hard to get past that resistance. But when you compare that to like you and your friends, you go to the movie theater and you haven't even seen any trailers, but you look at the posters and you're like, $10, let's give it a shot, right? So individuals in our capacity as readers and consumers of entertainment, we're more likely to give something a shot. And we see something on Apple TV for $5, looks cool, let's give it a shot. We don't know anything about it. So that's what's kind of happening, I think, with crowdfunding, or one of the things that's happening with crowdfunding is that we're kind of circumventing the retailers, and we're able to build up an audience and connect with people. And the other thing is that with traditional corporate comic books, they're monthly, and the artists are constantly under a deadline. They're constantly rushing. But when someone like you or myself, we've got our own book, and we can put as much love and focus and detail into it as we want to, right? Because there's not truly a deadline. So what I think is happening is that creators like you and myself, we're basically bringing about the European model to the North American comic book industry. Because in the European model, these artists, they'll put out 2 or 3 volumes a year, and they're deluxe, they're hardcover and so forth. And the French and Belgian comic book shops, they're full of material, and there's people reading these, but they're not monthly. They're coming out quarterly or a couple times a year. And Marvel and DC, it's not in their interest to move to that model. So what I think is happening is that crowdfunders, like an independent artist like you and myself, we're inadvertently bringing about a European model to the North American market. So that's another reason why I'm so excited about crowdfunding, and kind of what brings me here to speak to you about Jupiter.
Yeah, interesting way of putting it. I do definitely know marketing can be like probably one of the hardest things that a lot of indie creators have to kind of learn more about. Everyone, wants to network these days to get further ahead, and social media has definitely helped with that. As far as like getting your stuff to new readers, I would usually say it's like easier to hold on to readers than it is to try to reach new ones. Just because, once you've done what you can do, you don't know what you have to do differently to push it a little further.
I agree, definitely. And I've done some experimenting with like Facebook ads and Twitter ads. And again, it's hard to see. It's hard to kind of the tools to direct them towards the audiences in terms of the Twitter, Facebook ads. It's pretty clumsy. And the kind of when you're casting a net with those tools, it's a really wide net. This isn't like jeans or a car or something like that. Comic books are kind of a special thing, and it's really hard to use those tools to target potential readers. So I think that part of it is word of mouth. Part of it is kind of getting to know the creator, and seeing like, hey, this person, they seem to be knowledgeable about the topic. They're enthusiastic about what they're doing. I'm going to give it a shot, as it were. So yeah, I agree. It is definitely, it's not easy, but I have had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun the past month and a half or so, circulating on live streams and talking to people about Jupiter. And it's been fun to have been in the chat on so many shows, and then get to come up and talk to the host and so forth. So it's kind of, it's been fun.
Yeah. I mean, we're very fortunate to be in a time where indie creators are reaching out to support one another and helping their passion projects get funded. I heard once before, I don't know how relevant this is to modern day, but apparently webcomics, back when people had their own webcomic sites, they also had like some tight-knit communities where they would reach out to one another to put an ad for their own personal comic site onto someone else's site, and they would like exchange ads that way, and that would kind of be like their way of networking and linking everyone together so that they could kind of share each other's fans, or
Yeah.
just like get word out there?
Yeah, get some synergy. I did a little bit of that in the black and white '90s version of Jupiter. There were a few other people that kind of like in my same little niche where we were kind of trading space in the back of the comic to try to like, hey, I bet you some of our readers overlap, but I bet you there's people that don't overlap. So I think it's a good idea. And did you ever do any web comics?
Um, I have, but nothing that I can really point out and be like, hey, I'm super proud of this. I'm still pretty young, so like a lot of
I
the older experiences I have with webcomics are not something to put up on a pedestal.
Gotcha. You're developing your craft. It's your early work, and it's hard to look at, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's hard to find a lot of people these days who still have their own website for webcomics. It
Yeah.
feels like everyone is just going on Webtoon for everything.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I saw sometimes I wonder what if I had gotten into that? I don't know what would have happened differently with my life or whatever, or if it would have gone anywhere. But sometimes I wonder, yeah, what would have been? It would have been fun to dabble in that. But again, I just after the black and white Jupiter, after I hit pause, I just had so much else going on, and then just as a note, you don't have to have read the '90s Jupiter to read the new one. This is all new, and this is all color, and the stories are new, and there's some backup features and some background characters that you might recall from the old Jupiter, but this is legitimately like a clean start, a fresh start for people. So don't hesitate if you're not familiar with the 1990s Jupiter. This is a good jumping on point.
Yeah, new readers safe.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right. Well, what got you into making your own comics? I know that's like somewhat of a vague question. But...
Right. I know. I think what appeals to me is that I fell in love with the medium at a young age. I was like 6 or 7 when I got my first comic book, and then later on I got into indie comic books, starting with like Nexus and Dreadstar and Zod and ElfQuest and so forth. So I had this love of some of the mainstream comic books, and then the indies. And what I like about it is that it allows me to use the visual part of my brain as well as the literary part of my brain, because again, comic books are, words and pictures. And so while I have done painting and I've done some writing, I love being able to mesh the two together. And then also it's like you're able to make a movie, but you don't have to like tell other people what to do, and you don't have to hire people and stuff like that. So it's very it's a very compact and insular experience. And while I like people, I like company and so forth, sometimes I don't like to like deal with people. I don't like to deal with people in terms of like, oh, come on, just listen to what I'm trying to tell you. It's hard for me to explain. Just trust me that, and then also I know people who are like, say, writers, and it's hard to get the artist to it's hard to get the artist to be as responsive and as attentive as they want him to be. So since I'm the artist part of my brain can tell the writer part of my brain what to do, and the writer part of my brain can tell the artist part of my brain what to do, and then we both get mad at the colorist. So I'm able to wear all these different hats, and I find it to be it's a good kind of challenge, and I enjoy it.
That's good. I mean, you gotta do what you enjoy at the end of the day.
Yeah. And my plan is, so I've got about 20 issues of Jupiter planned out, and to the extent that I've gone through like a second draft of the dialogue, and I've got thumbnails and so forth. So I know where it's going, and I've got a plan. And as it goes along, as I'm working on the second issue, I can pull parts of the third issue. I can pull scenes from the third issue into the second issue, and I can kind of flesh it out. But I've got a plan, and I've got guardrails without a handcuff, so I won't get bored. I won't feel constrained. But my plan is to put out 1 or 2 of these a year, and then when I retire, every morning I will make an omelet for my wife and myself. I'm going to get a bunch of different cookbooks, and every day my goal is to like make a different omelet, and then go for a walk, and then once that's done, I'm going to go into my studio and work on Jupiter. So I plan to be working on this for a very, very long time, and I want people to know this is an opportunity to get in on the ground floor on the ground floor and kind of start this roller coaster ride with me, and enjoy the ride.
That's pretty nice. All right. I can see that. So it's good that you have a plan set forth. I've definitely seen a bunch of campaigns where they're like putting out an issue 1 of something, but they don't really know if they're going to do an issue 2. And
Yeah.
sometimes it can be a bummer, especially if you like end the issue on like a cliffhanger and you're
right.
like, ah.
Yeah, and there's some creators that they'll do an issue, they'll like start a series, they'll do an issue, and they'll say, okay, now I'm going to start a new series, and it's like, come on. I mean, I'm willing to wait like 9 months for a book, because I know you're going to spend like a lot of time and like lavish all kinds of attention on it, but I don't want to wait 18 months for the next installment, so yeah, I'm going to stick with Jupiter and keep it going.
Yeah. It's difficult to get new fans, but it's definitely easy to keep the ones that you have, so long as you're like consistent and are keeping them updated on everything, and making sure you're not making them angry. then they'll usually stay on board and see where the story goes.
Definitely. So. Yeah, and Jupiter is it's basically 95% done. And my commitment as a crowdfunder is that I won't like launch the book until it's like 90% done, because I don't want you to I want you to back and then be able to get the book in a pretty short order. I'm not in favor of running a campaign and then making people wait and so forth. So if anybody out there backs Jupiter, you should have it in your hands around 4th of July. There's gosh, where I lost my note here. There's about 9 days left on the Indiegogo and about 21 days left on the Kickstarter. And at the end of the Indiegogo campaign, I'll work with the printer. I've got the quote, and we'll get it going into production. So I should be fulfilling in late June. So people might be getting these around 4th of July or middle of July.
All right, that's good to hear. Yeah, it's definitely, I guess, a little bit more of a trend recently-ish, where you'll have the whole book like finished or like really, really close to finished upon launching, and the raising the funds is more so about like so that it can get printed than anything else. Because I get it to some extent, the argument that a campaign should be for creating the comic and getting the funds to create the comic. But yeah, it can, I mean, depending on like what you want for the comic, it can really take a long time. And so it is good that you got it finished and ready to go, basically, and so people won't have to wait too long.
And there are creators out there where the readers, they know who they are, and so they know what they're kind of getting, and so in those relationships and those dynamics, it's fine to people should do what they want to do. If they want to not have the book done and the crowdfund it and then live off of the revenue and help them pay the bills and stuff like that while they're making the comic book, so be it. I'm just going to say, like, my approach is that the crowdfunding is to pay for the print run, and then I'm going to use the overs and go sell them via other means or so forth. But I'm in favor of people doing what works for them.
Yeah for sure.
And then you can tell that there's some superhero stuff in here, and there's some kind of magic and monsters in here. So there's a good mix, and there's some little one page humor strips in there as well. So there's kind of something for everybody. And my hope is that if you pick up Jupiter, you're gonna find something you didn't even know you're gonna find something you didn't even know was missing.
That's nice. You got the first stretch goal unlocked.
Yeah, so we hit the first stretch goal was this Captain Kleinbottle fan club membership card. Now, Captain Kleinbottle is this Jack Kirby inspired character who's the comic book within the comic book inside of Jupiter. And so to create like a little memento, this is like a little fan club membership card that would exist in that world. And he's a time traveler, so the dates on the membership card run backward in time. And in true 1970s comic book fashion, the fan club was sponsored by a pie company, and then on the back of the card, there's a schematic of his rocket ship. So the good news is the first month we hit the $5,000 stretch goal. So everybody who backs at the $10 level is going to automatically get this card. And then I have a new stretch goal. Would you be willing to make me full screen just for a moment? So this is the next stretch goal. This is a official Legion of Memers license to meme. Yes, a license to meme. So you probably know who the Legion of Memers are. They're that band of merry pranksters who like to meme. So basically, I'm new media, they're new media. So I reached out to them and said, hey, I need a stretch goal for Jupiter, and you guys have gone after me twice. And so I'm gonna go after them. So this is a license to meme. So if you get stopped at a meme checkpoint, if you encounter the meme police, if the meme wars break out, you're going to want to have this in your wallet, your purse, or even your fanny pack. If you got a fanny pack, I'm not going to judge, but this is a license to meme. Now, you might ask, what's on the backside? Well, I'll tell you. On the backside is a reminder that the world needs comics division because life is too short for bad comics. So Comics Division, he was kind enough to have me on his show the night I launched the Jupiter campaign. And I've been watching him for years. So I was extremely honored and grateful that he let me go on there and tell the people about Jupiter. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, I've got the license to meme. I want to put you on the backside. And so I ran some designs by him and he approved this one. I don't know why, but he approved it. So if the campaign on Indiegogo plus Kickstarter hits $8,000, everybody will get an official license to meme. You're going to want to have this in your wallet, purse, or fanny pack.
Nice. So you found did you just fall in love with the idea of having these cards? Or you found a very nice place to get them all printed and you're like, oh man, I gotta get more of these.
Exactly. So what happened was, and this is 24-point PVC laminated. So what happened was I did this one because I'm not a fan of stickers. And I'm like, I don't know about bookmarks. So I said, what would be funny to have in your wallet? And I'm like, it'd be funny to have a fan club membership card, right? And then I thought, well, wait a minute. And then when I was showing it off, people were flipping out about it because it's kind of unique. And then so I said, okay, I mean, people like this. So I figured, hey, what's because it's sort of can you imagine just you're at a party or you're out to dinner with your parents or something like that, and you're like, let me look at my purse. Okay, I got my driver's license, I got my meme license. What? Yeah, Mom, I've got a license to meme, so I can do whatever. I can do whatever. I know I am all about cheap thrills, and I think it's just funny I don't know if I'll ever do it, but if I ever get pulled over by the police for speeding, I'm gonna say, can I have your license? I'm gonna pull this out and go, oh wait, no, that's not the right one. So.
Oh man, that's so goofy. One of the fun things about having a 3D printer now is just the ideas that we can make all these tiny little trinkets as part of our campaigns. Obviously, we did the sword bookmarks that was through the 3D printer.
And I love the fairy in the armor. That is such a cool idea. Such a cool idea. So what do you use? What do you draft the designs in? What kind of software do you use when you're drafting the designs for what you're going to print?
Oh, for the 3D stuff?
Yeah.
So there was a program that came with the printer.
Okay.
So it's a Prusa Slicer, I think is the program name. But for the most part, he just does everything in there. But also, there are online sites where people will just upload their 3D model designs, and they'll say whether or not you can use it for commercial use or like how you can use it. And the helmet was like one of those things, but we did some adjustments to it with the program to make it just right.
That is so
and
cool.
Of course, make it open and close. Stuff like that.
No, that is super cute. And then like when you're modeling, when you do the modeling, is it like wire mesh drawings that you're like sculpting, or what is it? What's it look like when you're building something in the software for that?
Well, I think for the most part you can like change view, so you can view the wire or view the just blocks.
Okay.
And the important thing is like hitting the button that lets you see wherever there's overhang, because that stuff will like get messed up during print.
Okay.
So you gotta like fix that stuff. And
cool.
But
yeah, no, kudos to you and your boyfriend for getting into that and playing around with that. I mean, life is so, I mean, there's like never enough time. So whenever somebody has time to like, dig into that and experiment with that and start doing cool things with that, I'm always a bit jealous. So good job.
Yeah. Well, I really like the idea of people trying new and creative things to just add on to like their campaigns to make it a little bit extra special. So that's just why I bring it up.
Awesome. And then there is, so basically I mentioned that, so Jupiter, it's $10 for the comic book, and you automatically get the membership card. I've got a postcard portfolio on there too. And what that is that's at the $20 tier. And there's a short video that shows what the postcards look like, but it's paintings that I did in the style of Jack Kirby. And so there's you get 2 each of 7 different paintings. And the music is through Adobe Stock, so you're okay to play it if you want to play it. It's about 10 seconds long.
Oh, okay. All right, nice.
Yeah, so in that postcard portfolio, there's 2 each of 7 paintings. So you can keep one postcard and put it in the fridge, and then you can mail another one to your friend. Your friend can go to the post box and the mailbox and open it up and say, "What the heck is this?"
I definitely know people who go insane over postcards.
Oh, okay. Good deal. It's like letter writing is like a bit of a lost art. And so anytime a friend, mails you, everybody still sends birthday cards, but it's kind of a lost art to send postcards and letters. So good deal. You've got people that are into that. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's nice just to get like physical art in general.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, it's part of the reason why posters are still popular. It's just like, it's the most simplest thing. You're just like putting art on like big long paper, but it's nice to just have art that you like just around. It helps your morale and whatnot. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm a bit spoiled because, like in my studio here, I've got my paintings, and then in my office at work, I think I've got 7 of my own paintings. Right. So people are always coming in and like looking around at them and stuff like that. And I don't, in my office at work, I don't have any windows, but I tell people I have the best view in the building. So
perfect. All righty. So what about these other tiers that we got here? Skybolt tier?
Yeah, that's the one where you, if you back at that level, you get the comic book, you get the membership card, and you get the postcard portfolio. So that's at the $20 level. At the $30 level, it's the comic book, the membership card, the portfolio, and then there's a campaign medallion. So I had, let's see here. Give me one second. So I had about 100 of these struck, and it's got my main character there, and then it has my motto on the back, which is becoming synonymous with indescribable. And it's metal, but it looks gold, but it's not really gold, so don't bite it. But but this is just a little commemorative memento, and it's like and I'm sure you can empathize when you finish the book. It's like you it's like you slogged your way through a campaign, right? So it's like even regardless of what happens with the book in terms of the crowdfunding, it's this victory just to get it done and to be like happy with it, right? So I'm like, okay, I don't know what's gonna happen with the campaign, but I'm gonna make this commemorative little medallion. And the other thing that I think about is, okay, 1,000 years from now, the comic books and stuff like that will be like, they'll be like dust, right? But there's going to be archaeologists digging around, and they're going to find like this, and they're going to be like, what the heck? So back Jupiter at the Jovian level and get one of these commemorative campaign medallions so that 1,000 years from now, you can freak out an archaeologist.
Great pitch. And then charity tier?
Yeah. So I had some people approach me and say, hey, I want to buy like a bunch and like give them to my school or give them to the children's hospital. So I did that one right there. And two people have claimed that tier. So just a cute kind of discounted way for people that want to kind of give some comics to spread some comics around. Right. So I made that tier there, and 2 people have backed. So I'm flattered by that. And then there's a retailer tier. So after the campaign's over and I fulfilled, I will go to Diamond and Lunar and see if they want to carry it. But I want to give the retailers an opportunity to get it early. And I've been very lucky because I've had 5 different comic book shops here in Minnesota as I've moved around the cities, right? And they've all been so good to me. Like all of my comic book shop owners have been super, super good to me with like discounts and stuff like that, and like making good recommendations and just like looking out for me. So I want to do this as kind of like a thank you to the retailers. So if you're a retailer out there, or if you're watching this and you're close with your retailer, I'll mention this tier because it's just an opportunity to kind of get the book out there early. And if you're a retailer and you back it and you get this, and then you mark it up and bag it, I don't care. It's whatever you can do to make money, because it's because a lot of retailers are between a rock and a hard place. So just take a look at this tier if it's a fit for you, and it's heavily discounted. And I also I subsidize the shipping, because my goal is to get it out. I mean, I want to connect with readers more than anything. So in addition to just being a competitive price point at $10 for 40 pages, the retailer tier is super, super discounted.
Yeah, that's a nice idea. And, sometimes it's just easier to work more directly with retailers rather than through the middleman. Yeah. So it's good. Oh, for Australia too.
Yeah. So there's one person in Australia that pinged me, and he guilted me for not having a retailer tier. So I put one up, and I imagine he's going to get around to backing before the end of the campaign. But otherwise, it's up there and available.
Man, I heard shipping to Australia was like crazy expensive.
It is crazy. It is so crazy. And I think my intuition is that somebody in Australia who's into crowdfunding, I think at some point they're going to realize there's an opportunity to be a kind of an informal distributor, where maybe if you're a crowdfunder and you just like ship 10 books to Australia, and then they break it out and ship it locally. I don't know if that'll happen, but it seems like there's got to be some sort of opportunity, because it's so crazy expensive. Even Canada is expensive. But that's kind of beyond our control. And one of the
international shipping in general is just like a whole other headache.
Well, and here's the other thing that I kind of struggled with, right? So if I don't mail it in a Gemini mailer and it doesn't go as a parcel, I can mail it as a first class flat. If I put it in a 9x12 chipboard, right, envelope, right? But if I do that and it gets all beat up in transit, the way people are nowadays is they'll take a picture and they'll post on Twitter and they'll tag you and they'll say, "Can you believe I spent $10 on this comic book, and here's how it was shipped. I'm unprofessional, unbelievable." So it's like you can't win, right? It's like it's either you put it in the Gemini mailer and you make sure that it's safe and it costs $18 to $20 to ship it, or you put it in a $7 flat and it gets all mangled, and then suddenly you're in the doghouse, right? So it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's only so much you can do with what you got.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Well, looks like you're doing pretty good so far.
Yeah. So today, just a couple hours ago, we crossed the $6,000 mark. So I'm, as someone who's like new to this, and some people remember the old Jupiter, but as far as I'm concerned, this is like a new start. So to have 166 backers on my first campaign, and to be at $6,000, I'm flattered, and I'm excited, and I'm energized, and I'm grateful to everybody that backed, and hopefully with being here with you, some additional people are going to see it and hopefully give it a shot. And then the $8,000 stretch goal, that's for Indiegogo plus Kickstarter. There is a Kickstarter campaign, and I've raised a whopping $96 on Kickstarter.
Not
But
as good, huh?
I know. Well, I mean, I really haven't spent any effort kind of directing traffic to that campaign. I was focused on Indiegogo. So what I've learned is the next time I do this, I'll wait until Indiegogo ends. Then I'll start a Kickstarter. I started a Kickstarter like 10 or so days after I started this one. So I probably should have waited, but people were like, I only go to Kickstarter. I'm like, okay, all right. If you only go to Kickstarter, I'll open up Kickstarter. So I think that's something that I'm going to do differently next time. But definitely when this one wraps up, I'll start trying to get some attention on that one. But again, the stretch goal is the two campaigns combined. So if we're almost at 6,100 here, 100 over there, so we're at 6,200. So we're, I think we're probably got a pretty good chance of hitting the $8,000 stretch goal in the next like 20 some days. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, and the first campaign is always like kind of the hardest one because you're just starting off and you're just like figuring out how to do things. But it's good that you got the connections ready and you're going on different people's live streams and promoting it here and there. So
yeah, and it's been fun.
Payoff.
It's been fun. It's been fun meeting people and connecting with people and making some online friends and stuff like that. So it's been good. So even if the campaign had done terribly, I would have had a great time just kind of circulating and meeting people. So it's been good.
That's good to hear. I mean, essentially, you've said that this is your like retirement plan comic.
I know. So I've got, and it's like, sorry, people, even if you don't like it, I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah, well, that's how you know that it's a true passion.
Exactly. I can't help myself. I got to keep chipping away at this. But no, I'm having fun.
All right, good to hear it.
So do you do both? Because I know you put out a poll on your Twitter saying should I do my next book on my own site and so forth. So in the past, what have you done in the past in terms of the
like how many comics or campaigns or
that and then like have you done Kickstarter and Indiegogo or just one or the other? What have you done in the past?
Well, I've basically been strictly Indiegogo campaigns. I know some people really like Kickstarter. For whatever reason, I just like latched on to the Indiegogo way of doing things a lot easier.
Okay.
But obviously, if I could do it on my own website, in theory, then I could I wouldn't have to give a 5% to whatever host I'd be using. So it would be nice. At the same time, people have, I guess it's brand familiarity where they feel like they can trust a name like Indiegogo. And I guess my website is super shady. Ooh, don't know what I'm going to do with your money if you come over here. And then some people are like, oh, well, I don't want to make an account with your website.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. There's just some there's just some hesitancy sometimes where it's like I understand people's hesitancy, just like generally speaking, right? But definitely, if you've got, I think the other thing is that as you continue along, you're going to get, you just build up more trust with people, and perhaps it will work. And then do you have somebody in mind that you think could do the coding part and like set up your site and stuff like that? Like, do you already know somebody that you trust to do that architecture?
Yeah, well, I already have a website. So really I would just need to like set up a page for like doing pre-orders, and then basically having like a goal mark and extras that you could add on.
Okay.
And that would be the idea there.
Okay.
So like it would be very possible to do. But another argument that I heard that I probably agree with most is just the idea that I still have a ways to go to build up my audience before they're like locked in to going to my website instead of Indiegogo. Whereas if I keep doing it on Indiegogo, I have the better potential of reaching more people.
Sure.
And that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some trade-offs there, definitely.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap this up. Do you want to give some final words, links, places where people can find you?
Yeah, I'm the most active on Twitter, and so it's at Jason_Sandberg. And then I think Jupiter, when people see this, Jupiter will probably have like 6 or 7 days left on Indiegogo and like 17 or so days on Kickstarter. So please go take a look, check it out. It's a book that's it's got superheroism, surrealism, and some kind of gag strips as well. And I think there's kind of something for everybody. And then you're gonna find something that you didn't even know you were looking for. And then you can watch the trailer. The trailer's a bunch of little clips that I made for short clips, little vignettes. But it's all artwork from the book. And check it out. And I hope you enjoy it.
Oh yeah, one more thing that I did want to ask actually. Do you have like an age rating for this? Like what age group are you aiming for?
Yeah, so I started reading Bronze Age comic books. And so that's so in the spirit of that, I want to do books that are quote unquote all ages. Meaning you could give it to a 10-year-old and not be worried that they're going to see something that's gory or overly sexualized or whatever. So it's got themes of it's got action, and it's got suspense, and there's cliffhangers, and there's the characters are in jeopardy, but there's nothing that would traumatize anybody. It's done in kind of an all ages approach. And so you could give it to a youngster and not be worried about giving it to them. But then also it's done with enough craft and sophistication that you can read it if you're 6 or if you're 106.
Excellent. Well, thank you for coming on, Jason.
Thanks for having me, and take care.